Do you know anyone that drinks too much? Know someone with a drug problem? Perhaps you've lost someone to overdose. 1 in 3 households has a family member in active addiction, in recovery, or who's dying from an overdose. Roughly 21 million Americans suffer from substance abuse disorder. Overdose is now the leading cause of death for Americans under 50. When you love someone that's in the grip of the disease of addiction, it can feel hopeless. Perhaps they lie to you, steal from you, or maybe they've even disappeared altogether and cut off all contact with you. It feels like change is impossible. I'm here to tell you change is possible. I've seen the most hopeless people turn around, including myself. You see, I was that loved one. I was the son and brother that disappeared. I cut off all ties to my family, my friends, even abandoning my precious poodle in the search for more drugs. My mom used to call the morgues looking for me. Imagine that. A mom searching morgues for her son. The situation was bleak, hopeless. Yet, here I am. February 20th, 2008, 13 years ago today, was the last time I used drugs or alcohol. I'm grateful to be in long-term recovery, which for me means 13 years of freedom from mind and mood-altering drugs. No drugs, no alcohol, period. 4,745 days ago, I was homeless, running from the law, unemployable, and dying of a broken heart. I had broken my own heart by living for so long in direct opposition to my values. Over and over, I became what I swore I would never become. Over and over, I crossed another line. Every time I hit rock bottom, I seemed to find another low, another way to disappoint myself and anyone unlucky enough to be within striking distance. I was using against my will. The party days were long gone, and I was using because I truly believed I would die if I stopped. I wanted desperately to find a way out, but I couldn't find that way. I know we all hear the story about the addict or the alcoholic that hits rock bottom and gets clean and sober. That happens, but that's not my story. I did experience a very fast drop to the bottom. I lost my job, my house, my friends, all within a year. Maybe it's not so accurate to say I lost them, though. In truth, I abandoned them. But I lived for a long time right at the bottom. It was a long, slow, lonely, dreadful circling of the drain. I was scraping along the bottom. Bit by bit, I lost myself. I did dreadful things to support my habit. I did dreadful things simply because I was out of my mind. The truth is, I didn't give up using until I was forced to. I was hiding from a very dangerous man that I had stolen drugs from. He was looking for me, and he had an entire gang on the lookout for me. I was hiding in a crack house, no money, no drugs, no food, and I was sick with bronchitis and really bad withdrawals. Sometimes our most transformative moments come not from inspiration, but from desperation. In recovery, we call it the gift of desperation, and it is a gift indeed, for without that desperation, I would have never quit. I would have kept running the clock out on my life, and I certainly wouldn't be here today. I was so lucky. I had a mom that was willing to give me another chance. She picked me up and whisked me away to safety out of town. Meanwhile, my sister had arranged for rehab out of state. My dad, my mom, my sister all showed up for family day at rehab in Minnesota in the middle of winter. They had the guts and the love to tell me face to face how much my addiction had hurt them. My transformation came not from some special moment where I took a hold of myself and pulled myself up out of misery. No, it came from that desperation. It came with the help of family that refused to give up on me. It came at the mercy of a probation officer and judge that listened to relentless pleas from my sister. It came from a 30-day, $50,000 rehab that was gifted to me. There is so much privilege in my story. Imagine if my family had turned their back. Imagine if my mom couldn't afford to pick me up and get me out of town. Imagine if my sister didn't have the skills to work the system to keep me free and arrange a scholarship to rehab. Imagine if the courts had looked less favorably upon me, perhaps because my skin tone didn't match their unfair vision of what a productive person in society looks like. My story isn't about how I saved my own ass. It's about how an entire community came together to save me. Family, friends, 12-step meetings, mentors, coaches, therapists, doctors. As I left rehab, I asked one of the counselors for any last advice, and he said simply, to stay clean, you must be willing to do whatever it takes. And I am willing to do whatever it takes. My sponsor calls it the no choice plan, the no matter what club. I don't use drugs or drink, no matter what. I had to learn to get through a day, an hour, sometimes just the next minute by not using drugs no matter what. I had to get really selective about the advice I listened to, especially my own advice, the advice that comes from the voice within. Sometimes I would just make a deal with myself. I'm going to wait 5 minutes before I relapse. And then the 5 minutes were up and I'd wait another 5. I guess my bad habit of procrastination was life-saving. That voice inside still wants to kill me sometimes. It tells me a sip of wine at an event or perhaps a double vodka tonic might be a good idea. It tells me, hey, it's been 13 years. I must be normal by now. Maybe it's safe and I can use street drugs like a responsible gentleman. When I got real, when I set all pretense aside and laid everything out in the open, I started to grow. In order to battle my addiction, I needed the help of a spiritual connection. Drugs had been my higher calling, my higher power, the absolute authority in my life for so long, and I needed a power much stronger than all of that to help me break free. I found that spiritual connection and I found the way out. I learned this whole thing we're all doing here, this life thing, is a we thing, not a me thing. Some recovery programs scare people away with talk of God. For me, that spiritual connection, that higher power is simply love. Love is bigger than me, bigger than my disease, and love never takes a day off. The quickest way out of the malaise that wants to lead me to drink, the quickest way out of the shame that wants to lead me to pick up drugs is to find someone I can help, find someone I can share my story with, find someone that needs some love. Survival is a we thing. I've come to believe that we all arrive here on earth bearing gifts for each other. Life is all about clearing the clutter of worry and pain and trauma and addiction, whatever gets in the way, in order to get to a place where we can stand and share our gifts. I know I'm heading in the right direction when I'm sharing my gifts with others. I mentioned privilege earlier. I was born with this privilege, and I've been saved with this privilege, and I work hard to find ways to share that privilege. We must lend our gifts or give them away when we can, because we cannot do this alone. Most addicts on the street, like I was, don't have access to all of the resources that saved my life. So I bring up this privilege in case you have some to share, in case you have resources to help. Imagine someone trying to get clean or sober without a place to live. Please consider volunteering or donating to help if you can. I share my story in case it helps you or someone you love. There is hope for change. Today I am living the life of my dreams, filled with love and laughter and hope and beauty and purpose. If I can do this, you can too. Don't ever give up on another human being. There is always hope, even when it seems a turnaround seems impossible. If you have written off someone in your life as an addict, here is what you're missing. They can become a rich source of wisdom and inspiration when they enter recovery. They've gone to hell and back, and they have learned all of these lessons from transformation. If you're looking for critical life lessons, seek these people out. Listen to their story. Learn from them. If you've got love, share it. Give away your privilege. Donate some joy. Lend some hope. Invest your energy and wisdom to help a bit. Package up your experience and put it in a service to solve big human problems. We need you to help make change possible.